Pull out your hose and grab your can. We're about to integrate another Pest Geek podcast. Hi, everybody. Frank Hernandez here, and welcome to the Pest Geek podcast, bringing you the latest information on pests, products, and politics from today's leading industry sources to help you start, manage, and grow your pest control business. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to this edition of the Pest Geek podcast. I am Frank Hernandez, your Pest Geek, and I've got a very good interview today. But before that, I wanted to cover a couple of things with you guys and bring you up to date. The Pest Geek Academy is coming along. However, it is taking a lot longer than we thought. We're still recording classes. We're still dealing with quizzes and setting up that infrastructure. So bigger undertaking than I thought, but that is coming. So stay tuned to that. You can always find out what is happening with that class or the lessons that we're putting up at the Academy by going to pestgeekpodcast.com and going to training. There you will find the Academy that is being built. And so we're working on that infrastructure, but this is a little bit more than I anticipated originally to get all this done. So letting you know about that. Also, hey, if you guys appreciate what we're doing here, you appreciate what I'm doing, what Stephen Van Tassel is doing, trying to bring you the best free content and be the world's #1 pest control training podcast that is free. If you enjoy it, hey, would you consider donating, supporting us? It's easy. Just go to pestgeekpodcast.com, hit the donate button, and whatever you feel that this podcast is worth to you, go ahead and support us. We would greatly, greatly appreciate it. And without further ado, here is our guest.
Thanks, Frank. Stephen Van Tassel here, bringing another episode of Living the Wildlife. I have a very special episode for you today. I'm very pleased to be here at Tomahawk Live Trap Company up in the great state of Wisconsin. It used to be in Tomahawk, Wisconsin, but they moved. I found it out the hard way several years ago. Where are you now?
We're in Hazelhurst.
Hazelhurst. So make sure you get that on your calendar or your GPS properly. Hazelhurst, Wisconsin, not Tomahawk, Wisconsin. Anyways, I am here with Greg and Kyle Smith. They are very much in operational control here of Tomahawk Live Trap. And I'm very pleased to have both of them. So say hello to Pest Geek Nation.
Hello, I'm Greg Smith. I'm happy to be here today.
Hey, everybody.
All right. Well, we're here to talk about, so if you don't know Tomahawk Live Trap Company, then you have not been doing wildlife control. So this is going to be a great treat. So I want to start with Greg. He is the owner of the company, or co-owner or owner?
It's family owned.
Family owned. Okay, family owned business. So I wanted to just sort of have him give a little bit of the history of the company, and then we'll get down into some details about what they produce, and then talk about what they think the future holds for wildlife control equipment. So, welcome.
All right. From my understanding, that the company has been in the family since the very beginning in 1920s, when a great uncle owned a mink ranch and had the odd mink escape. So he invented a live trap to recapture the mink. And over time, he spent more of his efforts making live traps than raising mink. So it became a viable business. And it grew, and it got to be where he needed help. So he brought my dad in from Chicago, Illinois, back in the 60s. And in, I think it was 2010, then myself, my wife, and my children, we bought the family out. My dad had passed away. So we bought my mom out, and now we've been running the business for, I want to say, 11, 12 years now? I don't know if the numbers add up. But,
No, sure. No, that's close enough.
11, 12 years we've been running.
We won't be holding you too accountable. That gives us a good history of the business. So talk a little about what makes your cage trap different from other cage traps on the market today. In terms, because I remember there was used to be like a little copper piece where the trigger would go. And so that was very different compared to other similar cage traps.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a nice little touch. But I think the quality, the durability, tough, dependable Tomahawk is kind of how we put it when we advertise. It's all made in the USA at our factory here in Hazelhurst with a group of people that care about what they're doing, that want to see quality go out the door. And I think that's reflected in the product.
And I think the details of our products makes a big difference, like the brass roller. Not only that, but then we've got strategic mesh patterns, like on the back of the trap to prevent animals from reaching in, stealing the bait. Or like on your professional traps, you can get a tighter mesh throughout the whole trap to prevent animal damage to property. And there's a lot of different styles that you can get from us. You're not just going to be able to get one type of trap. We've got a trap for different situations. So we're more of a specialized company. We don't just have the one cheap knockoff trap. We've got a good quality product, and we can make it many different ways. And we can even do custom traps if you need something built.
Good points.
All right. Well, I think there was a lot to unpack there. So we're dealing with the number of custom traps, the level of quality within the traps. I'm here at the operation. They were kind enough to give me a tour. Amazing. They've just added a substantial portion onto their manufacturing site here. It is truly a thing, and clean. That was the other thing I was amazed at, just how organized. Well, I think it was clean too. I mean, clean and organized. I mean, it's it's not a operating room, but it's pretty clean for a manufacturing plant. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to sort of unpack the differences. Can you explain your difference? Like you have a retail version of your trap, and then a professional version of your trap. Can you explain some of the differences for our audience? So if they're looking to purchase a trap, what would be the differences between those two versions of your trap?
You want me to tackle it first?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't look at it like retail professional. I used to look at it that way.
Okay.
Now I look at it more as sectors in the industry. It's become real apparent that nuisance wildlife wants that heavy-duty 24/7 trap with the 1/2 by 1 inch or tighter mesh that they can throw around in the back of the truck that's going to just hold up.
Okay.
It's a heavy trap, but it's a durable trap. And then there's like the researcher, the wildlife society type people that are lugging traps into the field, and they don't need that. They don't want that. That's heavy. It's more expensive. And then there's other sectors that have more specific requirements. So it's not a cheap trap versus an expensive trap. It's a specific trap depending on your needs.
Okay.
Is how I look at that.
Fair enough. You agree with that, Kyle?
Yep. And if you're looking for some of the features just on the professional series, there's the tighter mesh. There's a more of a heavy-duty frame with a heavier support rods. There's a heavier trigger rod, and then there's a big feature, especially with the raccoon traps, is the pan protector bar, and that's going to completely eliminate any damage to the trip pan at all, which can be an issue with a lot of the cheaper brand traps.
So if you've had challenges in the past, correct me if I'm wrong here. So if you're a wildlife control operator or someone who's had challenges with traps, with raccoons or maybe even armadillo, I'm told they could be pretty hard on a trap, trashing the traps you're using, then you'd probably say maybe you need to move to the professional version, the heavier duty version of your trap to sort of solve those problems. You're not having raccoons trash your professional versions.
Go ahead, and then I can add to it.
Yeah, and it's not just the professional, like specific animals, like armadillos. We have traps that's specifically designed for armadillos because that trap's made to hold up to a really tough animal. An armadillo can ruin almost any trap on the market unless it's specifically built for it.
Okay.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. You mentioned armadillo. We have a super heavy duty armadillo trap. So.
Wow. Okay. And so the the next question would be: is if someone wants powder coating, or they want powder coating on traps, so do you folks do that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because we initially brought that in-house after taking on the Comstock line. That's a heavy-duty nuisance wildlife type trap that requires wire feed welding, where there's exposed bare metal, so you either have to paint it or powder coat it. So we brought that in-house, and what we found was that there was a lot of people requesting that on our Tomahawk galvanized traps, where it wasn't really necessary. But it appealed to them that for those traps is an add-on feature for a little bit more money. With the Comstocks, it comes standard. It's priced into the line because you have to protect the metal.
Right. And so tell us a little bit about, because the Comstocks are relatively a new addition to your chain here, to your product line, I should call it. So is that fair statement? Relatively new? Well, you've had it for 4 or 5 years now?
Say 6 or 7 years.
6 or 7 years. You can see time is flying on me here. Okay. So can you explain because we have a lot of pest control operators out there who aren't necessarily familiar with the Comstock trap. And so can you explain the difference between the traditional cage trap versus the Comstock? So here's where you audience need to get your thinking caps on here. We're going to do a little story time, because we're going to have to describe this for you. But it's Comstock, Comstock trap, and so it's a different design than your traditional cage trap that you might be familiar with, that you might have in the back of your truck to catch the squirrel that you may have been for our clients. So this is definitely a different trap. So go ahead, Kyle.
The main difference between the Tomahawk series, or most standard traps, and the Comstock series traps is that the Comstock traps use a wire trigger mechanism rather than a trip plate at the bottom of the trap. So it's more of a animal trying to pass through the trap, and they bump the wires that are blocking the way of the trap. And as they bump those wires, it pushes a trigger mechanism off of a swing bar, and that's what drops the doors. And we do make this in a double door or a single door, but most commonly it is used as a pass-through double door trap. And they'll use it mostly as a positive set trap, meaning it'll be placed over an opening of where an animal is actually coming in and out of either a ground den or a hole on the roof or a hole in the soffit. And something really unique also about the Comstock traps is that after they're set, they can be placed in any position. So we have like a special multi-purpose Comstock trap that has a built-on nose cone. And you can actually flip that right upside down underneath the soffit if you've got a raccoon going in and out of that hole. So it's just more of a specialized trap for the positive set market, the wildlife market, whereas your standard Tomahawk traps are going to use the treadle, and that's going to be more of a baited type set. Or we do have a series of flush mount ones that can be put over a hole, but it's going to rely on the animal stepping on that trip plate, so you can't use it like vertically like you could a Comstock trap.
Yeah, the Comstock, I've seen a photo where someone attached it to a side of a building to catch a raccoon climbing down the side of the building. It was just amazing. I mean, I wouldn't even have thought of doing that. I would have had to create a platform back in the day when I was doing wildlife control. I would have had to create a platform or put the trap on the roof. It never would have occurred to me to put it vertical against the side of a building so a raccoon could walk through it. I mean, it's just amazing. It was just amazing. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the other versions of the Comstock trap? So you have raccoon style for raccoons. You've beaver.
Yep. The most commonly sold one is the 9x11 series, which is 9 inches wide, 11 inches tall, and those are the raccoon, armadillo, woodchuck, skunks will fit in those.
And how long are they?
Those vary all from 18 inches up to 36 inches.
Yeah, so I found them to be much smaller than the traditional spring-loaded double door traps. They seem to be almost like 6 to 8 inches shorter. It just seems amazing how short they are.
The catch box in the 18-inch one is very small.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Mostly used for woodchucks, that one, and like a small opening where maybe like under a storage shed or something out back where they've got a hole and you don't have a lot of space to put a trap. It's an ideal trap for that situation.
I think another reason that they're really popular with the nuisance wildlife people is because you can get them smaller. You got to understand that they only have so much room in the vehicle to go out and make all these stops and deploy these traps. So it's very beneficial for them.
Yeah, size matters. When I was in business, I always envied the pest control guys with their clean back of the truck, and they'd have their little B&G sprayer back there, and they're making more money an hour than I was, and the back of my truck would be piled to the ceiling of my cap, and don't get me started. But yeah, size matters, folks. And so hey, can you give a little overview? Because I only want to spend a little bit more time on your trapping equipment here. And so can you give a kind of an overview of the animals that are used, that are caught with your cage traps, all of your series? I mean, you have things for birds and snakes and fish, turtles.
I think that's the thing that we've done since we bought the company, is really looked at other markets. Not only have we developed from within, listening to customers. Customers are our greatest resource for getting into these areas. But there's been other opportunities. We've purchased a couple of companies over the past few years. We've gone into agreements with a couple of other companies. And that sent a message to people that we do listen, that we are looking for opportunity, that the door is open.
Okay.
I mean, the range of animals is almost limitless. If you have an animal and you need it trapped and you have an idea, we can probably build it for you. Right now we have everything from a mouse trap, is our smallest one, up to a 6-foot long dog trap.
And mountain lion trap.
Yeah, mountain
lion trap. That'd be cool.
We have it.
Yeah.
And then now we're even making bird traps that are the size of this room.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay, the room, just for context for those of you out there in Pest Geek World land, this is probably 15 by 10 room, maybe 20 by 10.
I think the trap's actually much bigger.
The trap's bigger than this.
It's designed to fit in the back of a semi.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And the ceiling goes up probably 10 feet. Thereabouts. So, that would be a massive, massive trap. So here's the bottom line, Phil. Let me sort of summarize that. If you need it caught, chances are they already have a trap designed and ready to sell you right now. If you have an idea for a trap, or you have a particular need for a modification, or maybe a brand new trap idea, and you want someone else to manufacture a prototype and work with you on that or build one for you, call the good people here at Tomahawk Live Trap, and they will talk turkey with you about building that particular device. And who knows, there may be another Comstock revolutionary trap coming down the line as well, because these folks are definitely open for new ideas. Well, let's move away from traps at the moment and talk about some of the other equipment that you're involved in, because you're doing more than just traps, right? So what are some of the other pieces of equipment that you build here?
Big variety. We do animal control poles, snake tongs, huge variety of snake tongs, animal graspers. We have trap covers. We just entered into an agreement with a company in Canada to manufacture animal nets. So we have a huge variety of nets, real popular with zoos, animal control officers, and even some nuisance wildlife people use nets.
So these would be animal capture nets, not bird netting to net off a building?
Right. It's kind of a glorified fish net, only it's instead of the, it might have a nylon hoop or a tighter nylon mesh so that animals don't get tangled up, designed specifically for animals. And then we have a whole variety of animal handling gloves, baits, just a lot of different type of products.
A lot of accessories too for the traps, like covers and adapters, and then animal carriers too, transport cages. Professional dog carriers is a kind of a new popular product for us. There's kind of a need for something high quality to transport your like show dog or your family pet without having to worry about some cheap thing collapsing on them in the back of the car.
Right.
Excluders, they're just they've grown exponentially over the last 5-6 years. A lot of communities are more into, rather than capturing the animal, just getting it out of the house or the attic or the garage.
Yeah.
It's become very, very popular.
I think that is one area I've certainly gotten criticized in the past for pushing one-way doors, or excluders as you call them. I didn't believe they worked originally until I had a guy show me how to use them. And I was never that good at it, but even I had some success. So if I can do it, a lot of you folks can do it. Something definitely to think about. This is where you harden the house and you put on a one-way door or an excluder that allows the animal to leave on its own, but can't get back in. And so so you sell a whole variety of those for raccoon-sized animals and smaller and larger, I would assume, or even if you want a custom size, you could build that too.
Whatever the individual wants. This time of year, it's the squirrel size is really popular.
Yeah.
Sell a lot of squirrel excluders in the fall.
Okay.
And we sell a lot of home proofing stuff. We've been adding more and more of that.
What would be an example of home proofing stuff?
I would like vent covers, and we sell the Ridge Guard vent, and then the similar comparable products to that. The high C vent covers.
Exclusion panels.
Yeah, the wire mesh panels have been taking off. It's kind of a basic thing, but it's a lot easier for people rather than to buy a huge roll of cloth and try and mess with it and get their fingers all jammed in it. They can just buy a pre-cut panel from us so they can critter-proof their deck.
Will those panels are those galvanized, or are they powder coated, or do you have any stainless steel versions?
No stainless steel yet.
Okay.
We have a galvanized after weld version and then a PVC coated also.
Wow, PVC coated wire. Okay.
Nice.
Like the lobster stuff. Is that kind of the same style?
Specifically for holding up to salt water, so it holds up forever, and it's UV protected also.
Nice. Okay, well, so I would definitely encourage people to visit the website of Tomahawk Live Traps. So I want to now transition over to anything new on the horizon that you feel comfortable that you'd like to talk about, and let Pest Geek World. We'd like to be first. Like you've heard it here first. So I'm going to put them on the spot. It's up to them whether they want to answer or not, but I figured I should at least ask the question.
Well, one easy one will be the new half by half professional series excluders and excluder traps, so the one-way doors, and then the series of them where they have a door on the back so you can catch the animal if you want.
Nice. Okay.
Just rolling it out today, in fact, it's called the Skyhawk Kiwi, which is electronic notification that you've captured an animal. So it's just a small device that mounts on your trap. It's an electronic mount, so all you do is just set it down, and it's a magnetic mount. The magnet grabs the cage, and then anytime it senses a jostle, it'll send a text message. So, your first thought is, okay, you got an animal in there and he's jostling all night and you got 2,000 text messages, but you can shut it off after, say, 5 messages and you've got an animal.
So there's an app that goes with the product as well? Okay.
The app's on your phone. You can control all of that. So, you think about that, you can save a lot of money versus driving, 100 miles to check a bunch of traps. You put some of these devices out there and you just wait to get that notification.
Is there a retail price announced yet, or is that still being developed?
It's $94.
That's the best part about this one, is that it's, compared to the things in the past, this is kind of a disposable version.
Okay.
Because it's, I think the starting sale price is $94.50 or $94.99, and you can, the $100 you can easily build into a job, whereas the $500 unit is a little tougher to build that into a customer job. And it's got about a 2-year expectancy, so it is just a little
The
it's
battery.
more of a disposable unit than your other ones, but the price is so much easier and the app is so easy to use. It's just there's no messing around with cables. You just drop this thing on your trap and it's held on by a magnet, so it's a lot more user friendly than anything in the past.
So to make sure we're clear, so it's not relying on Wi-Fi. It's going using cellular.
Yes.
Cellular. So it will use AT&T or Verizon. Is it dedicated to a specific provider, or is it the one that you would own yourself that you could link up with?
It's Verizon.
Verizon.
But
okay.
it's the latest technology, and they assure me that it's 100% coverage in the U.S. And if you purchase this and you're not covered, we'll buy it back. It
Wow.
will cover all your costs.
So there's a little bit of warranty. So those of you who want to have a device that'll check the trap for you, it's something certainly to check out. Give the name of it again.
It's a Skyhawk Kiwi, it's called.
Okay, Skyhawk Kiwi.
Yep.
And
Cool.
it's when you do buy it, it comes with the first month of service free, and then the service plans currently are it's $12.99 if you buy a 3-month plan, and then $9.99 if you buy a year,
Yeah.
and $7.99 if you buy a 2-year.
Wow, that's not bad at all. And that'll be for each individual item, or do you have to do that for? So it's $7.99 for each individual one you buy.
It's for each device, and then after 6 devices, you get a 10% discount.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Well, for those of you who may think that's too much, don't ever underestimate the role of these trap monitoring devices. Can be very valuable, particularly when you're trapping in high risk, high exposure areas where you need to have that animal removed. Let's say you're trapping in a big box store and customers can be an issue, or perhaps workers who won't leave equipment alone. It can be very valuable. Also, when you're dealing in places where there's high security, where you have to go through security every time. Let's say you're trapping at a power plant, and you have to go through a 45-minute vehicle check every time to go in and check your trap. Why would you want to do that when you can have the electronic device telling you whether there's something caught or not? It would save you going through a 45-minute security check when it's an empty trap, which would really rot. Yep. So I think if you're going to be creative, and if gas prices go up even more, then it really becomes a bargain after a while. So it's definitely something to think about. Well, thanks for sharing that. Is there anything, where do you see the industry going at this point?
Well, we are looking at an electronic trigger trap. I talked to you a little bit about that.
Okay.
We do have a prototype. We've got a plan, hopefully by spring. That trap then would rely entirely on electronics for triggering. It would sense the animal entering the trap, and when the animal gets far enough into the trap, it would pull an actuator which would drop the door. So there would be no internal parts to be damaged or destroyed, or for the animal to avoid.
No more treadles.
Right.
Or
push through wire triggers or anything.
Yeah.
They just walk either, and you can use it with a bait set, or you can use it as setting it up on a trail as a positive set kind of a thing, just walking through. That mountain lion trap that we were talking about,
yeah,
it already uses an electronic trigger that this individual developed. He's got it set for the height of a typical mountain lion. So if a raccoon walks by, which is lower than the height, the back of a mountain lion, it won't set off the trap. So, I mean, it's...
nice. Okay.
It's unlimited what the potential. Right now, it's just the way we're going to deploy it is if an animal enters the trap, it's going to set off the trap.
Right. Eventually,
we'll be looking at animal recognition, and whether that's a photo of the animal or it's the weight or the size, those are things that we're looking at.
So you see animal recognition where you're getting a more smart trap, if I can kind of throw that word out there, where the trap is, so we'll be reducing those non-target captures to target the specific species that you're looking for, which would be a major savings, as well as make the equipment more humane.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trapping in a neighborhood and you're after a raccoon, do you want to catch the neighbor's cat and have the neighbor find out about it?
Right.
Cool. The cat walks in, and of course, I mean, I understand you can be bait specific and use a marshmallow so the cat doesn't go in, but
that can only reduce the risk,
yeah.
Right? We still may have a trapped animal inside.
Yeah, but if you can use that photo technology
Absolutely.
and not set off the trap because it's not what you're after, I think that's a better solution.
That'd be really cool. Well, as we wrap up here, I do want to ask if there's anything you'd like to tell our Pest Geek world about your company that you want them to know and that you'd like to leave with them as we're signing off.
I would say that I hope you got the sense that we're a very open door type company. If you're ever up in the area in the North Woods of Wisconsin, you're welcome to come in. We're happy to give tours. If you've got ideas for product improvements or new products, we're always open to that. So I would invite anybody to just communicate with us.
I can certainly speak to that. By the way, just for truth in advertising, Tomahawk Live Trap does sell one of my books, and they have advertised in some of my publications to let people know I have a financial relationship with the company. However, I can speak to their willingness to construct traps with people's ideas and maintain that type of security until it goes live and produce traps. They are certainly open. I'm here, so they let me come through the door. So, and some of you probably will have a better reputation than me, and so I'm sure they'll let you through the door too. Kyle, is there anything you want to end with?
I guess, it's just kind of our passion. It's what we like doing. I couldn't see us doing anything else at this point.
Well, and you have the job you want.
Exactly.
Which is a wonderful thing. All right, well, this is Stephen Van Tassel, Wildlife Control Consultant, another episode of Living the Wildlife. Thank you both very much for letting me come and see your Tomahawk Live Trap Company plant and meeting you both. You've been great supporters of the wildlife control industry and other industries as well. So this is me signing off. Back to you, Frank.
Thank you for listening to the Pest Geek Podcast. If you have enjoyed the Pest Geek Podcast, please give us a rating, write a review, or subscribe to the channel. You can join the Pest Geek Society by visiting pestgeekpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. See you next time.